Hey everyone, welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. And today, we're diving into a topic that doesn't get talked about enough: vulnerability. Especially when it comes to learning and speaking a new language like English.
Yeah, and let's be honest, speaking a new language can feel really scary sometimes. It's like standing on a stage with a spotlight on you, and suddenly your brain goes blank. You forget words. You panic. You feel like everyone's judging you.
Totally. And it's not just about grammar or pronunciation, it's about the emotional risk. Because when you speak a new language, you're putting yourself out there. You're showing a version of yourself that might not feel as smart or as confident as you usually are in your native language.
Exactly. And that feeling, that raw, exposed, what if I mess up, kind of feeling, that's vulnerability. But you know what? It's not a weakness. It's proof that you're brave enough to try.
Right. Like, think about it. You're learning to express your thoughts, your ideas, even your feelings, in a completely different system. That takes guts. And yes, sometimes it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes you'll feel small, or embarrassed. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're growing.
And honestly, Nick, I think the people who feel vulnerable while learning are the ones who are really doing the work. Because they're not hiding behind perfection. They are facing their fears head on.
Exactly. Vulnerability shows that you care. That you're showing up fully, even if your voice shakes, even if the words don't come out perfectly. And that's something to be proud of, not ashamed of.
It reminds me of that quote, "Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing it anyway." Speaking in English when you're scared. That is courage.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest myths is that fluency means never feeling nervous or never making mistakes. But that's not true. Even fluent speakers, native speakers, feel vulnerable sometimes, especially when talking about emotions, or speaking in unfamiliar situations.
Yes. Fluency doesn't erase vulnerability, it just teaches you how to live with it, how to move with it instead of fighting it. And maybe, how to be gentler with yourself along the way.
And you know what's wild? So many people think they're the only ones feeling this way. Like, oh, it's just me. I'm the only one who gets nervous when I talk. But no, you're not alone.
Not even close. I've talked to so many learners who say things like, "I'm so afraid people will think I'm stupid," or "I freeze up in conversations." And I always tell them, that fear, that discomfort, it means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. And that's where real growth happens.
Yeah, like, nobody learns a language by staying silent and waiting until everything sounds perfect in their head. You learn by messing up. You learn by trying. You learn by saying something a little wrong and realizing the world didn't end.
Exactly. And I think we forget that vulnerability is also what makes us human. Like, when someone hears your accent, or sees you struggle with a word, they're not thinking, "Wow, what a failure." They are thinking, "Wow, this person's trying." That's brave.
Right. We admire that in others, but we rarely give ourselves the same compassion. If your friend made a mistake in your native language, you'd probably say, "Hey, that was really good." But when you do it, you're like, "I'm terrible at this."
So true. We're so quick to judge ourselves, but we forget to see the courage in what we're doing. I mean, think about it. You're communicating in a language that wasn't part of your childhood, your home, your everyday thinking. That's incredible.
And it's real communication, even if it's not perfect. Like, if you say, "He go to store," instead of, "He goes to the store," people still get what you mean. The point is that you're connecting. You're being understood. And that's powerful.
Honestly, vulnerability is what creates connection. When you stop trying to be perfect and just be yourself in English, that's when people really see you. Not just your grammar, but your personality, your story, your heart.
And that's what language is all about. Not rules, not tests, but connection. And sometimes, connection comes with a little bit of fear, a little bit of awkwardness, and that's okay. That's normal. That's human.
I mean, if we're being honest, Nick, don't you think there's something kind of beautiful about that vulnerability? Like, when someone speaks English with an accent, or stumbles on a word, it's not a weakness. It's actually proof of effort, proof of bravery.
Totally. There's this quiet strength in it. I've had conversations with learners where they paused, searched for the right word, maybe got it slightly wrong, and still, they showed up. They didn't walk away. That's courage. That's heart.
Yeah, and it makes you realize how language learning isn't just about words. It's about identity, self-worth, healing sometimes. You're not just saying new vocabulary, you're rewriting the way you see yourself.
Oh yeah. Like, how many people carry childhood messages like, you're not good at languages, or don't make mistakes, or people will laugh. And now, as adults, they're trying to speak English while fighting those old voices in their heads.
Right? And that takes so much emotional energy. Like, it's not just the grammar or vocabulary, it's the emotional labor behind every sentence. That moment when you say, I'm going to speak, even if my voice shakes.
Exactly. And I think we need to normalize that. We need to say out loud, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel embarrassed sometimes. That doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're doing something meaningful.
And I think one of the kindest things we can do for ourselves is to stop pretending we need to be fluent to be worthy. Like, your worth doesn't start at B2 level. It's there already. Right now. With your pauses, your accent, your ums and all.
Couldn't agree more. And honestly, if more learners could hear that, really hear it, it might change everything. Because the moment you believe that vulnerability isn't failure, but evidence of growth, that's the moment things shift.
Yes. That's the moment you start saying, I'm learning, and that's powerful. Not, I'm not fluent yet, but I'm growing. And that mindset, that is what fuels real progress. Not perfection. Not pressure. Just persistence and compassion.
You know what's wild, Emily? I've talked to people who are super advanced in English, like, they can write essays, give presentations, but they still feel like they are not good enough, because of their accent or because they hesitate sometimes.
Oh yeah, that inner critic doesn't go away just because you've improved. It evolves. First it says, you don't know enough words. Then it says, you sound weird. And later it whispers, you're still not like a native speaker. It just keeps shifting the goalpost.
Exactly. And that's why we need to challenge those thoughts. Because fluency isn't just a language skill, it's also an emotional experience. If we let that critical voice dominate, it can block us from even seeing how far we've come.
So true. And I always remind learners, vulnerability isn't something to hide. It's something to honor. Because being vulnerable means you're showing up, even when you're scared. That's not weakness, that's power.
And that mindset, treating vulnerability like a strength, can change how you show up in every conversation. Suddenly, a small mistake doesn't feel like the end of the world. It becomes just part of your journey.
Yeah, like a scar that shows healing, not failure. Honestly, I think the bravest people I've ever met are language learners. They're not just learning English, they're facing their fears in real time, out loud.
Every time someone says something in English that they are not 100% confident about, they are saying, I'm trying. I'm growing. That's powerful. That's brave. And that deserves recognition.
Totally. And maybe that's the reminder we all need. You don't have to feel confident before you speak. You gain confidence because you speak. Even when it's messy. Even when it feels hard.
Yeah, And even when your voice shakes, or you forget the word mid-sentence, it still counts. That's not a step back. That's the work. That's the moment your brain is wiring itself to grow.
And I guess the question becomes, can you love yourself in those moments too? Not just when you nail it, but when you're searching for the word, when you make the mistake, when you feel exposed.
That right there, that's the heart of learning. Not just memorizing vocabulary, but rewriting your relationship with yourself through every conversation, every attempt, every act of courage.
That right there, that's the heart of learning. Not just memorizing vocabulary, but rewriting your relationship with yourself through every conversation, every attempt, every act of courage.
Exactly. And maybe the next time you feel that wave of embarrassment or self-doubt when speaking English, just pause and remind yourself, this feeling means I'm growing. This discomfort is proof that I care, and that I'm not giving up.
Because real progress doesn't always feel like success. Sometimes it feels like anxiety, awkward silence, or getting stuck on one word over and over. But all of that is progress.
So if you're listening to this and you've ever felt vulnerable while learning or speaking English, just know, you're not alone. In fact, you're in the strongest group of people we know. The ones who choose to keep going anyway.
And from both of us here at the British Accent Podcast, we want to say, we see you, we're proud of you, and you're doing better than you think. Keep learning. Keep feeling. And keep speaking, exactly as you are.
Thanks for joining us today. And as always, remember, fluency is not perfection, it's connection. And your voice, in any language, matters.
We'll talk to you again soon. Until then, be kind to yourself. You're doing something really brave.